I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 78 of the Future Template Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, PhD, EMDR consultant, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me. Today, I am in my office, thankfully away from my house, because I think I might finally have good childcare, which thank God. And it feels cozy in here. I have a delicious smelling like pine branch or something candle. It smells holiday-ish. I was playing Christmas music earlier. I'm really excited to finish out my clients for the year this coming Friday on the 20th. I hope you guys have some time off scheduled. And I hope you enjoyed last week's fabulous episode with Mary Fleisch, LCSW, one of the amazing members of the first cohort of my group program, the EMDR Intensive 12-week intensive. In the episode, Mary shared all about the successes she has had during the course of the group and where she's headed next. Be sure to go back and listen if you missed it. I think it's really inspiring. It really shows you what can happen in 12 short weeks. But today's episode, I have a little holiday gift for you, appropriately enough, since this episode comes out on December 25th on Christmas Day and also on the first day of Hanukkah, I'm pretty sure. So, what is my gift for you on Christmas and the first day of Hanukkah? Well, it is my announcement of my free 1 hour webinar, which will take place on January 2nd at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting off 2025 with a bang. And the title of the webinar is How to Double Your Rate with EMDR Intensives. And so in today's episode, I'm going to give you a little teaser about what you'll learn in this webinar. So first of all, as I said, the webinar is free of charge, and I'm super excited to teach a big group. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be a big group and teach live, right? I love the podcast. I feel like the podcast is a teaching opportunity for me, but teaching live, of course, is such a different energy than recording something. And I was reminded of how much I love teaching in person virtually, live, when I taught my group course this fall. Just the energy from people being together and exchanging ideas and just sharing the same space. You can't really match that. There's just so much potential for learning in that kind of like dynamic and responsive environment. Like I can respond to questions and address the needs of participants in a way that, of course, I can't do when I'm just putting out a recorded podcast, right? So, very excited to do this live. And of course, the webinar will be recorded and will be sent to everyone who attends afterwards, but I really encourage you to attend live. Make the commitment, put it on your calendar now. What a great way to roll into the new year with some energy behind finally getting intensives off the ground in your practice. And as an extra incentive to attend live, everyone who attends the training live will be entered into a drawing to receive a copy of my EMDR intensive client workbook for free. So one person will win that, but only if you attend live. So just last little plug for attending live. And there's also going to be Q&A at the end. So this will be a great opportunity for you to ask questions that maybe have been burning for you about intensives. And of course, you can only do that if you're there. So what is this webinar all about then? So the title is How to Double Your Rate with EMDR Intensives. And you might be curious about that title. What do I mean? Well, this is based on what I have tended to see with therapists whom I coach who are starting to implement intensives into their practices, right? So, maybe they haven't done it yet, or maybe they're in the very early stages of doing it, right? So often always I will ask them, like, what's their current 50-minute session rate? And I would say on average, if you put everybody together and average them, these therapists are charging about $150 an hour. And most of the therapists I coach have not begun to offer intensives, or maybe they have them on their website, but no one's booked them. And some people are even, earlier on in the process than that. They've just heard about them and they're curious, Some therapists I work with for their 50-minute sessions are already charging a lot more than 150, like 225 or 250 for their 50-minute sessions. And then some are charging a lot less, maybe like 100 or even less, especially if they're paneled with insurances. So yeah, about 150 a session is the average. And so what do therapists come out charging after they finish working with me? And again, I would say on average, looking across the spectrum of everyone, around $300 an hour for an intensive. So yeah, going from average of 150 to an average of 300, doubling their rate, right? So there's the title. So what's this webinar going to teach you to get you to that place where you're doubling your rate, you ask? But of course, I'm not going to give you all the answers on the podcast. You need to sign up for the webinar to get the really detailed information. But I do want you to have a sense of what I'm going to be talking about to entice you to sign up and get on the list. So what will I be covering? First of all, I'm going to talk about the clinical skills you need and the structure of your intensive that I think that is very, very successful, that works the best, that will get you excellent client results. You need this dialed in first so that you can feel really confident in what you're offering, right? You really want to know you're offering something that's worth what you're going to say, worth something that you can double your rate for. You want to know why it's going to work well for clients, right? So those clinical skills are so important. So I'm going to give you some insight into the clinical tools I use most in intensives and the tools that I think yield really great results. And these are, of course, are all tools that you can learn by working with me. And also I'll teach you the structure that I use for my intensives and, why I think it's very effective. And of course, some of the best marketing out there, I see this so often, is being an excellent therapist. If you craft an intensive offering that gives transformational results, people will notice. Other therapists will notice. Clients will talk about you, right? And you will get referrals from that. So that's why I think it's so important to have the clinical piece first, to know more than just your standard protocol and to have other tools in your toolkit that you can bring in when you need to. When you're sitting with someone for a long time, 5 or 6 hours, something comes up and you're like, whoa, what do I do now? You want to know what to do in that moment, right? And so we do that first, the clinical skills. And then I'm going to talk about confidently setting the fee that actually matches this transformational offering that you've created. A huge issue I see with therapists who are trying to price their intensive offer is confidence, or lack thereof, I should say, right? They'll undersell themselves in so many ways because they are so afraid of that number. I've even heard of some therapists giving intensive clients a deal, and they actually charge less per hour than they would for a regular client. So say they charge $150 an hour for their regular session, and for a 6-hour intensive, they're like, oh, I'll charge you $600. No. That's not, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And I will talk about in the webinar, and again, this is something you've heard me say before, is like, there's so many reasons why an hour of an intensive is worth so much more than your normal session rate, right? So please, please, please do not undersell yourself, okay? But you need to have the confidence to do that, right? And so I want to help you feel really confident in that. Right, so talk about that in more detail, right? Like coming up with a fee that you charge for the intensive, that doubling of your rate, and confidently sticking to it. All right, so you've got your amazing clinical skills, you got your fee dialed in. What else is the webinar going to cover? Well, you need to get clients to know that you exist and to know that you're offering this amazing service. That's your marketing, right? I'm going to talk in detail about 3 specific marketing categories: your website, in-person networking, and by in-person, I mean with actual people, like referral sources. It doesn't have to be face-to-face. But yeah, actually connecting one-on-one with people who could refer clients to you, and social media. Again, this is not mandatory, but I do use it. And a lot of therapists in my program use social media in different ways. So I am going to talk about it. I'm going to share some of my experiences with each one of those elements, how I see them kind of working together really well, and how each one can help your business progress. And I'm also going to gently challenge some of those limiting beliefs or mindset beliefs that some people may have around marketing, right? Like, I think it's just so common for therapists to really, really wish they could just skirt marketing altogether. That somehow their name would just get out there because they are good at what they do without them having to do any work to get their name out there. And that's not true. I know that's not true. We all know that's not true. If it were that easy, none of us would market because none of us really like it that much. So you got to do it. If you're going to be charging really high rates like you do for intensives, you have to have compelling marketing, and you have to have consistent marketing, and you have to have marketing that covers a lot of different areas, right? There's different areas, like different ways in which you're marketing. You're not just relying exclusively on Instagram, for example. Like, that, I think that can work for some people. I think often it's like one leg of the stool, right? And it's and for any one networking, what's the word? Networking element to work really, really well. If you want that to be the only one you use, you have to be going all in and working really hard on that one. So, you know what I mean. But anyway, marketing is not optional, right? So we're going to talk about that. And then finally, after we've talked about how to get your name out there, how to get people to know you, to like you, to trust you, to believe that your fee is something that they want to pay for the transformation that you can provide, we're going to talk about the consult call, right? Because great, you've done the work to create this clinically robust offering that just gets great transformations for clients. And you set your fee, and hey, now your marketing is working, right? And you're getting potential clients booking consults with you, which is amazing. And you should celebrate that. Like, you've done some of the hardest work, which is the marketing, I think. So that's working. That's fantastic. But now what, right? To get on the call with you, and what are you going to say in those precious 15 to 30 minutes that you have to get a client to say, yes, I'm absolutely in, sign me up, let me pay the deposit, show me the dotted line, right? That's what you want to have happen, but it's not something that just happens. I mean, you may encounter someone who gets on the call and is like, I'm ready to go. I've read your website. Like, I know how much it costs, like, sign me up. But I would say that most people need a little bit more from you than that on that consult call. So I just want to give you a few tips in the training on how to show up with confidence, how to show up with clarity on that call, how to portray yourself as an expert, and some ways that you can kind of glean from talking to the client for not very much time, like quickly assess why an intensive is a great option for them. Right? That's a big part of the selling point, is you want to make it very, very clear, like, I know why this is the right thing for you. And how to convey that message with confidence. Like, those are the pieces of a great consult call. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that. So yes, so that is the major components of the webinar. Like I said, it's free, January 2nd, 12 p.m. Eastern. You will learn some really cool stuff. I promise that you're going to walk away with some actionable steps and some great inspiration. I really am excited to think about you starting 2025, pumped and inspired to create amazing intensives for your clients, which will then transform your practice for you. And that is really what I want for you. I mean, of course, yes, I want great outcomes for clients. The power of EMDR intensives to heal is profound. And we can only do that work really well if we are creating a practice with our intensives that sustains us in terms of, how we craft our time, the amount of flexibility that we have, the amount of hours that we're working, and the fee that we charge that allows us to work in a way that is the most sustaining for us. Because if we're doing well, that's going to show up. If we're doing well, that sounds, you know what I mean? If we are well cared for, as much as we can be, our clients are only going to have better outcomes, right? It's a win-win. So I know you can do this. I have been working with people who are doing this, who have done this, and I know this is possible for you. But I want you to take that all important first step and sign up for the webinar. Okay. The link is in the show notes. It's also going to be all over my Instagram. And if you're on my email list, you'll be getting lots of emails, not lots, a couple of emails talking about signing up for it. If you do want to sign up and you're having trouble figuring out how, certainly just DM me on Instagram. I can easily, or send me an email. I can easily get you the link. So yeah, I'm excited to see a lot of you there. And I hope your holidays, whichever ones you celebrate, are warm and bright, and you have time to breathe. You have time to reflect on all the amazing work you have done with clients this year, because I know you have. And that you also have the time to think about what does 2025 get to look like for me, right? That's what the gift of rest gives us, right? Is we can actually take a pause and evaluate where we are and where we want to be. So I hope the holidays provide some space for you to do that. I will certainly be doing that. And, as they say, my next episode is going to come out on January 1st. So I'll talk to you next year. Thank you, everyone. Take good care. Happy 2025.